Hi, my name is Lauren Davis, and I will be talking about the hijacking of Air France Flight 8969. The hijacking started on Christmas Eve in 1994. The plane was at an Algerian airport when four men came onto the flight. They were in uniforms and began checking passports, so nothing seemed out of the ordinary. The plane was scheduled to take off, and it didn't. There was a delay, and that's when the four men revealed themselves to be Algerian Islamic terrorists. Overnight, they demanded to have two of their fellow terrorists released from jail, and they also demanded to have permission to fly to Paris. The Algerian government had a negotiator talking to the terrorist, and unfortunately, every time the negotiator denied access to fly, one person got killed. So this happened 3 times, and after the 3rd time, France said to send them over to the Marseilles province airport. So on Christmas of 1994, the plane took off and flew to Marseilles province airport. Once they landed, the hijackers asked for 3 times too much fuel, 3 times as much fuel as they needed to get from Marseilles to Paris, and that is when there were speculations, and later it was confirmed that they were going to crash into the Eiffel Tower. While all this is happening, while the hijacking is happening, France, the counter operations had begun in France. By noon, they had a crisis team established, and the GIGN, France's version of France's special ops team, had already begun training. The French government recognized that one of the biggest challenges they had was to get access from the Algerian government to intervene on their country, in their country. So the GIGN took an identical plane to Spain and ran practice drills until waiting for the Algerian government to allow them in and to intervene. Unfortunately, the Algerian government refused to, and so after that 3rd civilian was executed and the Algerian government gave permission for the terrorists to fly the plane, the GIGN had already gone to the Marseilles airport and were waiting to intercept the flight. Once the plane landed, the GIGN had been practicing rescue missions and operations. The Marseilles chief police did attempt a few negotiations, but ultimately they realized they were just going to have to intervene, hands-on intervene. So early on Christmas morning, the GIGN force went into the airport disguised as staff just to get a better layout of how many people were there, and an idea of what the layout was. Then at 17, the GIGN force, or the GIGN unit moved in. All together, all 4 terrorists were killed. The 3 passengers from earlier were killed. 13 civilians were wounded. I did learn that 10 of the GIGN unit members were wounded, but 173 passengers survived. The motivations of the terrorists, there's 2 quotes that have a deeper dive into it. Obviously, the release of the 2 members of their terrorist group were their spoken motivations. These 2 other quotes just kind of give an insight into that they wanted to give a lesson to the French and to the world, that they would show what they were capable of. And then there was also a quote, and these 2 quotes are from people in the airplane, passengers, saying that they were nice and reassured the Algerian compadres, but terrorized passengers that were non-Algerian. So I think it was a reassuring the Algerians that they were on their side, but then showing the rest of the world the power that they wanted to display. Lessons learned, this operation was overall very successful. The biggest lesson that they learned was sensitive over sovereignty. The Algerian government recognized that if they had simply let the GIGN unit come in and intervene while they were still in Algeria, they didn't have to take a huge risk of letting the plane fly. Even though they didn't have much fuel, that was still a big risk to put all those passengers in the hands of the terrorists and not really have much control over what happened. Connections to demons, there are a few. The biggest one, I want to point out the first and the last one, just in the interest of time, was this social idea that Dostoevsky points out, a form of socio-political demology, posturing with a tendency to propose extreme measures and total solution. And the last one, the overall theme of extremism, consuming the individual rather than the individual choosing these ideas or views. Dostoevsky continuously ridicules and points out the negative sides of radicalism and extremist viewpoints. So I think that he just points out that he believes, and that's why this is called demons, or another translation, possessed, is that the ideas possess the person doesn't choose them, and that could explain why these 4 men gave up their lives just to get 2 people out of prison. And last is the 20th century scholars. These are all awesome quotes from people who have done case studies over this hijacking. The first one is basically saying that this is the first time, or first indication, as a way to target national symbols using civilian aircrafts. That goes along with the very last one, saying this was the precursor to 9/11, just that idea of using the terrorists using the Air France flight to point out and to specifically target the French government and French people. The middle quote is about the GIGN and just how it says it continues its crucial role across the globe today and also provides training for other elite units in the art of counterterrorism. They are highly recognized for this attack, for it being, it took 15 minutes, no civilians were killed on their account, and even the GIGN members came out all alive with just mild to moderate wounds. So all together, it was a successful intervention. And that is